So this particular year for 2025, Gemini individuals, so yourself, it's going to be a big time for growth and for learning and for self-discovery, which again, if you are not a Gemini and you're listening to this, that is the overarching energy of this particular season. I do think the word Gemini just has such a beautiful flow to it, you know? Like Scorpio, not the same flow. Gemini.
But Scorpions are also like terrifying.
Yeah, and
So that's why it doesn't flow the same.
I know, but that's what I mean. Like, it's interesting that
you ever see a set of twins and you were like, oh no, run.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, I mean, if they're yours, probably.
Or if you've ever seen The fucking Shining.
Okay,
Red
fine.
rum.
Those
Red
twins
rum.
too.
Red rum. Did I ever tell you that my best friend and I dressed up like that this is before she moved to Nashville?
I keep getting Charlie to try and go as the twins with me for Halloween.
I'll have to show you the picture.
Yet.
My best friend and I look great. Back to Gemini. Gemini.
I do really appreciate the fact.
Gem.
I
loved it so much.
I was like, she's going to sing. No, she's not. Yes, she is. No, she's not.
Well, I was trying to think of the words. Gem. No, it's not Gem is amazing, but Gem and the holograms. So good. Okay.
Yep. Well, let's talk about, there's obviously shadow sides to all of these lovely zodiac signs. And I feel like for Gemini, it can be like trickery or like it can kind of come off as devious, I think. And I will say, though, I've personally felt like being a Gemini has given me a really unique perspective to see kind of both sides of the coin in discussions or arguments or anything like that. I've just kind of always felt like I was able to put myself in the shoes of different people. And I don't know if that's like an innately a Gemini thing because of the twins, but it's definitely somehow like a characteristic that I've felt.
I think that's such a gift because I think people that are able to also facilitate that in others is also a beautiful gift. Like, okay, I can appreciate where you're coming from. Have you thought about it from, this perspective? Because I know being a Scorpio, there are times where like my opinion is my opinion. Like, do not come at me. Do not give me a different perspective. I don't want to hear it. That is not something I'm going to absorb. Because we are so stubborn and strong-headed sometimes when especially like in the moment. Like in the moment, that's when we sting. It's not necessarily like all the time, but if you attack us, we are on guard.
Right. Yeah, I've never felt that way.
Yeah. So I think that is such a gift too when you can bring that into the picture and allow people to be like, have you thought about it from XYZ perspective and allow them to,
No, I definitely, I guess I would enjoy that part of the Gemini traits. But it does come with restlessness, for sure. And Geminis are talkative. We're fucking talkers. And it took me a long time. When I was younger, I didn't know how to like take it all in and have like conversation with depth, I don't think.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I could have like heady conversation where I was talking, but I was struggling to take in what I was hearing because I was so in my own head with my own thoughts. And they were just like a million miles a minute.
I think that goes back to communication too, right? Because there can be verbal communication and then there's nonverbal communication. And I think when you're in a conversation, I struggle with that sometimes too, where if somebody says something and I want to respond to that something, I stop listening because then I'm like holding on to how I want to respond to whatever it is that someone said, which sometimes I have learned with age that you don't always have to give feedback. Every thought that comes into your brain based on something that somebody said doesn't necessarily need to be communicated to that person. You can just kind of let it go sometimes. And I think, when you're talking about how, when you were younger and how you would always have like these thoughts, but you wouldn't necessarily have deep conversations. I think that just goes with experience and goes with growth and goes with, aging.
I had to figure out how to communicate with people because I felt like I couldn't communicate very well. I wasn't being heard, or people just didn't care, like when I was young. And I mean, listen, when you are young, most people, especially middle school age, they don't give a fuck what you're saying.
Sometimes the communication when it comes to the adolescent years, they're just struggling to put thoughts together.
100%. But one thing that I learned was not to get lost in a sea of distractions and to just speak from the heart.
Always. I mean, always. Yeah. I think that is such a wonderful lesson to just speak from the heart. And this Gemini season is so positive. Like, I feel like the beginning part of 2025 was like fucking heavy and just like, oh my God. I felt like we were walking
is a year of transformation.
Quicksand, where it was like your feet get stuck and then you pick them up and you're like, oh my God, okay. We're like making progress forward, but it is taking so long. This Gemini season, things are starting to just flow.
Oh, we are riding a wave of transformation this year.
Yeah,
for
but
sure.
I feel like the energy starts to pick up as far as the speed.
Well, I mean, Geminis too are very quick, like fast thinking people, right? And being an air sign, like everything's like moving all the time. So I think that that's part of it too, is like, okay, how do you harness this transformation of this season that's coming up? And there's so many tools, right? Obviously, we talked about writing. That's one. Divination is also attached to air signs. So tarot cards and oracle cards and pendulums and
for those who are listening, divination is basically asking for predictions that are to take place. So if you're asking for help in a particular area, this is going to give you the steps that you need to take to have that come into your future. So you can call it manifesting, you can call it predicting the future, but it does require work. And I always think that that's important to associate back to anything that we are talking about is you're still doing the work. Things are not going to just fall into your lap. They're not going to be given to you. You have to work at it. You have to put energy. It's like an energy exchange, right? So just keep that in mind. Harness the energy of whatever season it is. Look to divination. That's such a good part. I love divination now. It is such a helpful tool that I have in my toolbox that if I'm having one of those days, some days I wake up and I'm like, I got it. I got the plan. I know what I'm doing. I'm feeling motivated. And then other days I'm like, what? Like I'm just like in this like confused state. And if I ask for guidance, then I'm like, okay, I got it. Thank you. Thank you for putting me back on the path.
Yep. I mean, Gemini season is high vibes, high energy, and the ability to pivot is crazy for Geminis because we're just like, okay, yeah, we got to go this way. Cool. We're just going to go this way.
Yeah.
Like, that's just what you have to do in the moment. So I would say because of that, take a look at your values, your goals, your beliefs, and be like, okay, this is what is like important to me, and build your daily structure around the discipline of working towards that instead of flitting from thing to thing to thing, which Geminis can be prone to do, but allowing yourself to let that adaptability and that flexibility and that pivoting come in when you need it most.
I love that. I think for me too, in that same breath, because I can be prone to start things, I have gotten really into hard finishes, hard, strong finishes. There is something about the energy that comes with finishing a project.
Well, I think this is interesting though, because I think people have different definitions of what finished are.
I mean, nothing is ever truly finished, right?
Like, no, and I think about this because my husband and I often have the conversation of, he's like, I cleaned the kitchen, right? And then I go in the kitchen and I'm like, my kitchen is not cleaned, right? Like you cleaned some things in the kitchen. He's like, yeah, I'm all done. And I'm like, wait, but what about those like 4 dishes over there? Or what about, you know what I mean? Like, and I think that that's important to note is that everybody sees different things. They have completely different perspectives.
Yes.
So your hard close or your hard finish on something is not going to be the same as mine.
No. And I think especially when you're working in a family structure, right? So you have children, you have a husband or a partner, and you are, okay, this is the project of the day. This is what we're going to get done today. That's the finish, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that the whole project's done. But like last weekend, Graham and I had 2 projects that we were going to take care of. We were going to clean his closet. And then he also had to take care of Chewy's cage. He had to clean Chewy's cage completely, which is our chinchilla. And he started the closet and then got distracted. And I was like, no, we got to come back. We got to finish the closet. Well, can we take a break? I'm really hungry. Yes, we can take a break, go get some food, but we have to finish this project. It took him a long time to get to that point where we kept coming back, because there was different parts of the closet that we had to address. Like there was clothes that he had to see if they fit him now. There were school projects that he had to put in his school binder. There was just these like
one project
incremental
leads
things
to 15 other projects.
Right.